true. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Hope everyone's doing well. Today is an FPV video and we're going to be talking about putting a DJI O4 Air Unit Lite into a Iflite Mach R5 Sport. So this is an absolute blaster of a quadcopter. It's a full-blown racing drone. It's absolutely bonkers, very, very lightweight. Look at the size of the motors for the size of the quad. It's just massively overpowered. It runs on 6S. It's got this lovely canopy which kind of hides all the electronics and keeps everything safe just in case of crashes, which you obviously do quite a lot when racing. I'm not really interested in racing so much, but I just like to fly fast proximity, you know, like through the woods. You've seen on my Woodland videos before probably, and it's just something probably to do with the Star Wars kind of thing back in the day when I was young. So this quadcopter actually has a analog video camera in it. I mean, this is what it came with as standard. That's what it started life out as, and that's great for racing because you want low latency. You want, you know, video is not kind of the priority. Video quality is not the priority. You just want to have something that's really responsive, feels really locked in, and yeah, everything else. You've seen some of the racing videos like people do. The video quality generally doesn't look that good. So yeah, it had analog in it. I say it had analog because you might have noticed this camera might not look like an analog camera. But basically what I could have done is, and what I did actually try to do, is put an action camera on this. But again, it doesn't really work that well because there's not really a good enough space for a big action camera, and a GoPro is just a bit stupid on something like this. Also, the video downlink is just really not good enough for close proximity and flying through the woods, stuff like that, because you've got branches and all sorts of things. You're not going to see that on analog. You need to have something higher quality like DJI or maybe HD0. So for this, I've chosen to put an O4 Air Unit Lite into this. Now this is a new air unit from DJI. It's not that new, it's been out a little while now, but I've kind of been a bit slow to the O4 party. Rather than jumping on things new, I've kind of held off and just see what things are all about. So yeah, this is the O4 Air Unit Lite, and I've already got one here that's out of the box and basically disconnected from everything else. You can see here, just look at that, it's absolutely tiny. I've also removed the labels and stuff so you can actually see underneath here. It's quite interesting. But anyway, that is the Air Unit. So suddenly we are able to replace an analog video transmitter with something DJI, because up until this point the only other option you had for DJI was something like this, the O3 Air Unit, and this is just huge. I mean, look, that is not going to fit inside there. I mean, it looks like it might, but trust me, it won't fit in something like that. And it's quite heavy as well. When you compare these side by side, you can see how dramatically they are different, size and weight and everything else. Right, so here's the rest of the components of the O4 Air Unit Lite. So basically this little camera here, which you might have noticed has no proper mounting holes for the standard sort of cameras. This is the mounting bracket that you get. Looks very different to anything else we've seen with FPV cameras. And you can see here, I've actually made a hole in the middle there because the only holes you get on this are the ones at the top and the bottom, which are just completely incompatible with any other camera mount. So typical DJI have chosen to do something completely different, which is just makes things really, really hard. So this bracket sort of snaps over the top of the camera, and then that gives you basically your camera. But again, how you mount that is another thing. You really kind of want to do a 3D printed sort of adapter for this. In fact, on this little flywheel I've got here, they've done exactly that. It's not 3D printed, it's actually a proper, so you can see there it's exactly the same camera, but they've got their own custom kind of camera mount. So that, I think you can buy that individually, so you can buy it on its own from Flywheel, I think. So I haven't got a spare one, unfortunately, otherwise I'd use that for this. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the full details of how you install this in this quadcopter, because there's going to be a million videos out there done way better than I could do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how I've actually done it. So this is the O4 Lite installed inside this Iflite Mach R5 Sport. So you can see what I've basically done here is I've just stacked it on top of the flight stack. It's really the only place it can go. The first problem is that it's bigger than the flight controller, so it's a 25 by 25 and the flight controller is 20 by 20. So basically you have to use this little adapter plate. You can get these adapter plates, there's quite a few of them. You could even 3D print one. So that's basically how I've done that. And I've put some shock absorber rubbers in between, so you can see that there, and then I've just screwed it to the top. Another thing you've got to be aware of with these air units is they won't support 6S. I think the maximum voltage is like 13 volts, so you can't run this off of the battery power supply. So you have to run this off of a 5-volt UART, which is easy to do because on this Blitz flight controller, you see the connector down there, you have all the connections required for this DJI O4 broken out into a little connector. So all you need to do is carefully remove the wires from the DJI connector and then basically just put it into the connector housing that would go into the Iflite. So that's how I've done it. Then that means you don't have to solder anything at all, which is really good. Now the next problem is the camera, because the camera doesn't have any mounting holes. So what I've done is I've used the existing camera bracket on this drone to basically make like a clamp. So this is just clamping this camera in at the angle I need it at. And you can see here that is not going anywhere. Obviously with impacts and stuff we'll have to see how that works out, but that is how I've done it, because that's the only way I could get it close enough to the hole in the canopy. Otherwise you're just going to see the edges. So even my little kind of modified camera hole thing there, which I tried, didn't work. So yeah, anyway, antenna, I'm using the DJI antenna because they're generally pretty good. Again, we'll have to see how this works out. This sort of folds into the canopy and goes where the old antenna kind of went, although the old antenna did look a bit more elegant than this sort of wire. But we'll see how that works out. We'll do some range testing, we'll see how it all works out. But that's kind of it. The only other configuration I did was in Betaflight. I had to enable the MSP display port. There's a command that you can run in Betaflight to do that, so you need to do that. Just Google it, you'll find it. That was one step I needed to do because there was no OSD, like all your telemetry data and stuff on the screen, after first installing it. So little moment to think about that, but it is solved now. So this is ready to go. So let's go and test it. Right, here we go then. First test flight. Come to this lovely location. It's one of my favourite little flying locations. Weather's brilliant. There's a little bit of a breeze, but let's see how this goes in open space first, and then maybe I'll try some proximity if I'm feeling happy with how it's all going. Let's get this fired up. Need to make sure I've got enough storage space. This isn't a full pack actually, this is one I was using just to test. Now the first thing I want to check is just make sure the video transmitter's kind of working okay. Alright, we're going up to 60 megabits. Oh yeah, that's nice. Wow, it makes such a difference being able to see all this stuff. Moves, doesn't it? That really does move. I'm not even on any throttle at all here at the moment. It's fast. Battery's getting low already. Sound of that, guys, it's mad, isn't it? Well, I didn't even sort of really notice anything bad on the signal or anything like that. Actually, I wasn't looking at the megabits. Just how quickly you can just get so far away. Low battery, 34 megabits, okay. I think we're okay. Very floaty. Right, I'm gonna come back. Nice! Right, okay, another pack then. So I don't know if I've got this on wide mode. Yeah, I have. Wide mode and 1080p, 100 frames a second, 4.3. We haven't got any stabilisation on it, have we? no stabilisation. I just want to see what it's like without anything. Right, so another pack then. Let's give it a blast. Still at 60, dropping to 45. Right, battery. Smashes through the battery. To be honest, I haven't actually tested these packs much lately anyway. Right, in the woods, time for a bit of proximity now, my favourite. This is going to be tricky, I think. So for this one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to enable racing mode, so that we can get basically a little bit more, or a little bit lower latency. So I believe that's done it. So this is going to be fun. It shouldn't be too bad. It's actually quite a pussycat, really. That camera angle is a little bit mental for this, but unfortunately I can't really do much about that because I can't really change that camera angle. Not the way I've got it mounted. This is the lowest it will go. It was all going so well. All good. Love it. This is a bad boy. Right, so I've just got back. Drone's absolutely fine, no problems. A couple of loose props where I've hit trees and things like that, but all in all, everything's absolutely fine. Held up well. So I'm just really excited to look at the footage and just realised I've just plugged it in and there's no footage on there. There's like small little snippets of footage. So this is really annoying. And I think what's happened is basically I'd start the recording on the goggles. Usually I do that on the Neo and it just carries on recording when you arm the quad and just take off. But on this one, it's not doing that. It's actually stopping the recording. So I've got all the menu footage showing you what my menu settings were, but I haven't got the flight footage. So yeah, pretty annoying. But what can we take from this so far then? So I'm really impressed by the race mode. You can see that reduced latency round the woods. Like, I mean, yeah, that's brilliant. That's like flying, you know, comparable to like HD0 or one of these other low latency modes, like even analog a bit, I suppose. But so you can see there where I was kind of weaving in and out the trees and stuff and making those quick decisions last minute. I was able to do that with this, which is fantastic. The video feed is pretty good. I mean, it's looking, to be honest, it doesn't actually look that different to the 1080p footage that this records directly on the air unit, which is kind of surprising. I'll insert a bit now so you can see, but you can see what I mean. It doesn't look great. So I think the next thing I want to do is try 4K 60 just to see, you know, what this camera is capable of. I think this is worth doing. I think the only other problem I have with it is that the field of view is a little bit narrow on the goggles view. So that is something to bear in mind. Maybe HD0 would be better, but it's going to have nowhere near the range that O4 has, so it's kind of like weighing up what do you do. If you're into racing, then I think HD0 it's a no-brainer. You've got to use HD0 because the feel of HD0, even with this low latency, I still think it feels better. It feels more like analog. It's a tricky one. There's sort of like these almost like micro, very, very slight stutters with DJI. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm seeing that. But I do notice when I fly something HD0 and I go to this, I'm like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel quite as locked in. So that brings us to the end of the video. I think I've rambled on enough about this, but it's quite interesting. It's quite an interesting thing how this is now possible. You can put something this small and lightweight, but there are caveats. You know, for example, if you are running that race mode, you're basically limited to 1080p recording on the air unit itself. So 1080p, 100 frames a second. So, you know, you can't have the best of both worlds. That's where, obviously, when you're running like a freestyle quad, you can have like an action camera separate, and then you can have whatever settings you want on that camera. But of course, if you want to get the best out of this, it's like the fact that the air unit is actually recording the footage in high quality to its internal storage is like a bonus feature, not actually like, you know, you're going to buy this as an action camera, because it's not as good as an action camera. But, you know, I always find myself in these situations with like these quads, like the small stuff, getting something really small and lightweight, and then kind of getting the air units to do as much as they can, just pushing them to like get the best footage. But yeah, anyway guys, hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you next time.